Traitors' Gate was built with the outer walls during the reign of Edward I. It was built as a water entrance to the Tower of London, although when it was originally built, it wasn't known as Traitors' Gate, it was known as the Water Gate. Oh, calm down, Americans, you're okay. Now, it became known as Traitors' Gate over the Tudor period, a period in England between 1485 and the reign of Henry VII to the death of Elizabeth I, because of all the famous traitors who made the way into the tower via the gateway. Above Traitors' Gate is St Thomas's Tower, named after Sir Thomas à Becket, the Archbishop of Canterbury, murdered in Canterbury Cathedral on the orders of Henry II, Edward I's great-grandfather. This building here above it is known as the Medieval Palace. This, ladies and gentlemen, would have been Edward I's royal palace. He'd have moored his royal barge here, then made his way into his royal palace. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this area here is open to the public, and the entrance is via the wood staircase to my left. Those people are not demonstrating perfectly. Look, they've paused on the doorway. Once you enter that building, ladies and gentlemen, you can walk through. Eventually, you'll pass between the outer and inner walls using this bridge here, which is known as Salvin's Bridge, then into the upper Wakefield Tower, then onto the southern, eastern, and eventually northern ramparts or battlements, which are all open for you to visit. Now, when it comes to the Wakefield Tower, ladies and gentlemen, the most famous prisoner kept in there was a man called Henry VI. He was imprisoned in there after the Battle of Wakefield. Now, he was imprisoned during a period of time in England called the Wars of the Roses. The Wars of the Roses was a civil war which raged on a length for around 30 years, fought between the houses of York and Lancaster. By the way, they're all members of the same family, so you think you have a bad Christmas, crikey. Now, it's called the Wars of the Roses because they picked flowers from a garden to represent their individual sides. So we have the red rose of Lancaster and the white rose of York. And with the land on the 21st of May 1471, Henry VI was murdered up there in the upper Wakefield Tower. Now, with the Lancastrian King Henry VI dead, the head of the Yorkist family becomes King of England. His name was Edward IV. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, Henry VI founded Eton School and King's College, Cambridge. So every year on the anniversary of his death, the deans of these colleges come here to the Tower of London and they lay a floral tribute in the place where he died in the ceremony of the lilies and the roses. Now, Edward, ladies and gentlemen, dies in 1483. He dies of natural causes. I think he was the only male member of the entire family to have died of natural causes. All the rest of the family were horribly murdered. Unfortunately, his two sons then continued the family tradition for being horribly murdered. These two sons, 12-year-old uncrowned Edward V and his younger 9-year-old brother, Richard the Duke of York, were then declared illegitimate, brought to the Tower of London and imprisoned in the tower behind you, now known as the Bloody Tower. Their uncle, Richard the Duke of Gloucester, supposedly looking after them, was then crowned Richard III. By August, September 1483, the two boys in that tower had disappeared. They were never seen again. Now, 2 years after that, in 1485, Henry Tudor, supported by the Lancastrian families, he invades England and he defeats and kills Richard III at the Battle of Bosworth Field. Actually, he was then crowned Henry VII, the first of the Tudor dynasty. He marries the boy's elder sister. Her name was Elizabeth. He thus amalgamated the red rose of Lancaster and the white rose of York to form what we now know as the Tudor Rose. Incidentally, when his new wife came to his court with her new husband, she brought with her her mother, Elizabeth Woodville. After 6 months, Henry VII banishes Elizabeth Woodville to Bermondsey Monastery. Henry VII, ladies and gentlemen, banishes his own mother-in-law. You've got to think. I realise that doesn't go down very well, a lot of people, but just an interesting historical fact. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Shakespeare writes about all of this in his play Richard III. And in that play, he refers to this tower as the Tower of Blood. When it was originally built with the inner walls around 1220, it was actually known as the Garden Tower, because he used to have a little garden which is now gone. It became known as the Bloody Tower, people tell me, in the late Elizabethan, early Jacobite periods. Other famous prisoners held the... There's a ghost! There's a ghost! It's Casper's aunties. They don't stay. Oh no, they're back. Does anyone believe in ghosts?
No.
Do you think there's ghosts in the tower?
No.
Yes.
Do you know, I've been here 600 years now, I've never seen anything. Other famous prisoners... Who's gone? Anyway, other famous prisoners kept in the bloody tower, ladies and gentlemen. Sir Walter Raleigh was locked in there in 1603. Locked in there by a man called James I. He was part of a plot to put an Arabella Stuart on the throne of England. By the way, James I is also known as James VI of Scotland. His mother was Mary Queen of Scots. Mary Queen of Scots was never held at the Tower of London. She was held in Sheffield Castle, amongst other places. She was beheaded in Fotheringay. Right, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to stay with me during the tour. Shortly, I'll be moving through that archway. As we go through the archway, on the entrance, you'll see two metal bars with spikes on. They are known as Wellington's chairs. They were put there by the Duke of Wellington when he was here as Constable of the Tower of London to stop soldiers hiding in corners and smoking whilst on duty. There we go. Follow me, ladies and gentlemen.